Welcome to the first edition of the Exploration of Shangani Culture, a documentary series which explores the vibrant Shangani culture, looking at the rich traditions, beliefs and heritage of the Tsonga people, also known as Vanhlengwe or Shangani people in Zimbabwe. This particular episode will focus on their history and background. The program is brought to you by Lowveld Media Trust in partnership with the Culture Fund of Zimbabwe under the Creative Actions program supported by the European Union Delegation to Zimbabwe.
Atlawa wa Lowveld Media Trust ukhomana xikun'we na Culture Fund va sekeriwa hi mukongwana wa European Union va koneke ku endla ndzavisiso hi matimu a Vatsonga. Leswi ke swi endla ku nani vanhu va va na kwetlembetano ku la ku rhandza ku tiva ku a Vatsonga va huma kwini, a Vatsonga va tshame emigangeni yihi siku ra namuntlha. Hinkwaswo leswi I swivutiso ke vanhu vo tala kambe ke hina swona swi dyondzeki leswi ke swi nga kona ku endla ndzavisiso ku nani va tiva ku nani Vatsonga nga va ka huma kwihi. Van'wana va ku hayi Vatsonga va huma kona a xivindzini xa Afrika van'wanyani ma vonela kambe ke van'wanyani ke va ku hayi Vatsonga va huma kona a Swaziland inga Eswatini siku ra namuntlha kambe van'wana va kona Vatsonga va kona Afrika-Dzonga I mavonele a swi dyondzeki swo hambanahambana kambe ke hi ala ke hendla ndzavisiso ku tiva ku nani Mutsonga yena u huma kwini hi vula Mutsonga Xidzi u huma tikweni rihi hinkwaswo leswi I ndzavisiso hi nga kona ku hi va endliwa hi vona ke vadyondzeki siku ra namuntlha kambe ke ni ku hayi aka mu engiseri siku ra namuntlha ni ku nani hi wona leswi hi nga hi xikongomelo nga na xona siku ra namuntlha hi va hi tiva ku Mutsonga huma kwihi ha khensa swinene ngopfu ke aka mfumo wa hina wa Zimbabwe hi ku u kona ku va u sekela ke na ku a ku va vona ku ndhavuko wa hina wa tlakuka u sisimuka I ndlela yin'wanyana ke yo ku twisisa ku hayi a Mutsonga I mani Mutsonga Xidzi Mutsonga wa xiviri va kona ku va swi humelerisa swo swi fana sweswo ke hi vula mfumo lo wa hina hi khensa nakambe ke hi ku nani ke va aleke va ku yini va hi xixima ndlela hi ku nani I Vatsonga lava nga na ndhavuko wa vona lowu nga ala wu ri kona u hi komba kambe ku u va ku identity ya hina yi va yi kombeka yi sala I ri yona yi ri yoxe kambe ngiserekeni ku nani a hi tweke vo tala ku nani loko hi ku nani Vatsonga va matimu a Vatsonga swi vula yini ke va kona ke va dyondza va hi hlamuselela va nghena phakati va yetisisa ngopfu va lava a ndzavisiso lowu yima na mina.
The people known as Shangani in Zimbabwe today are the Tsonga people, a Bantu ethnic group also found in Mozambique, South Africa and Eswatini. They speak XiTsonga language and are often referred to as Vanhlengwe because of the Hlengwe region they had occupied. Hlengwe means world. They are part of Zimbabwe's diverse ethnic mosaic, mainly living in the southeastern Lowveld regions like Chiredzi, Mwenezi, Beitbridge and Chipinge districts. They are in more than 3 provinces of Zimbabwe. Despite their long-standing presence, their identity has often been associated with the broader Shangani label, a term from the 19th century Nkuni invasions spearheaded by Soshangani, a Nkuni general from the Ndwandwe tribe. They are well known for their unique dances of Shibelani, among other cultural practices like the traditional male circumcision ceremony, commonly known as Hoko or Ngomeni. Many people living in the southeastern Lowveld of Zimbabwe today, coming from different backgrounds, have embraced this culture.
Hikukwala ningasangula kona nitswalwe kolomu aniyangi ni yaku nilaku yafunda kutonda Hlengwe kumbe XiTsonga ninochifunda na hi Xihlangi na Mtsonga vachumuchi ningachifunda khale nionokhula na xona kulile kolomu ni risileti homu ne vafana velomu hi hlota ti xinzi ne vafana velomu.
In a bid to safeguard and promote Zimbabwe's ethnic diversity, the Zimbabwean government has unwaveringly supported this group through cultural festivals and development initiatives. Their culture has been described as a source of pride in Zimbabwe.
Today we organize and celebrate, in particular, rich traditions of the Shangani people here in Chiredzi. Your dance and craftsmanship are a source of pride and inspiration to our nation. It is very, very unique.
Originally, the Tsonga people were made up of various clans such as Hlengwe, Ronga, Tsonga, among others, and each clan with its own distinct cultural practices, but united in their culture and language. Their rich history predates the term Shangan. Different schools of thought have argued that the term Shangan refers to the subgroup within the Tsonga people, which was named after Soshangani. These debates claim that there is a distinction between the terms Shangan and Tsonga, defining Shangan as a subgroup which followed Soshangani. In fact, there are Tsonga people who are not descendants of Soshangani, which demonstrates this distinction. Both Tsonga and Shangani people speak XiTsonga. Dr. Steni Kesani Madlome is the chairperson and senior lecturer in the Department of Languages, Media and Communication at Great Zimbabwe University.
Soshangana was a descendant of the Ndwandwe from the Gaza lineage. So he himself was a Nguni, and the people he was trying to subjugate were not Nguni. They were Tsonga and other groups closely related to the Tsonga, like I said, the Ndaus, the Chopi, and other people in that area. So eventually those people formed what was called the Gaza Kingdom or the Gaza Empire, which he was in which the name he was honoring his grandfather was called Gaza. So strictly speaking, the Tsonga were not descendants to the Gaza lineages.
While the debate about the exact origins of the Tsonga people continues, they are believed to have migrated from Central Africa between 200 AD and 500 AD, creating many cultural identities in the southern African region. There is no accuracy about the reasons for their migrations, but historians like Gamboko Godfrey Mabunda, who is a PhD candidate and a sessional lecturer in the Department of Translation and Interpreting Studies at Wits University in South Africa, share divergent views.
The available records about the history of the Tsonga people points to the Central Africa, that we all migrated from that region, coming down. The reasons for that migration can be interpreted in many ways, depending on who is talking. Some can say we're overpopulated there, or we're looking for greener pastures, or we're looking for better soil types for kind of farming that we were engaging in, or even for ranching. People would move looking for pastures for their livestock.
Now let's look at the Hlengwe people of Vanhlengwe. This is a clan under the Tsonga ethnic group, but maintain distinct linguistic and cultural identity. Their history was significantly disrupted by the Mfecane in the early 19th century, a period marked by widespread displacement caused by the Nkuni militarized migrations, supported by the British desire for dominance through the Shaka invasion. Soshangani's Gaza kingdom established political control over the Hlengwe, which resulted in forced assimilation and introduction of the Shangani identity. The British colonial administrators further reinforced the misnomer Shangan by using it as a broad label for various Tsonga-speaking groups. This classification did not pay attention to the Hlengwe's distinct identity, grouping them under an association linked to their former oppressors, much like calling themselves Rhodesians in a free Zimbabwe.
Those who are into present-day Zimbabwe are actually called the Hlengwe because predominantly they are dominated by the Hlengwe people, the Chaukas, the Hlongwanis, or the Sonos. These are the Hlengwe people.
It is also very important to note that there were no borders or boundaries when these migrations were taking place.
I just want to look at the Shangani history from the perspective of whether it was migration when they were coming into present-day Zimbabwe, or was it simply expansion. So these two theories, generally speaking, what you get when you are looking at the history of the Shangani people. But I would also quickly want to say that it's a misconception to call them Shangani. Not all of them are descended to Shangani, so to speak, but a large chunk of them pre-exist, or the nation of the Tsonga people pre-exists the Shangani name or the Shangani label.
African borders are artificial and were mostly imposed by colonial powers, leading to conflicts and governance issues in Africa.
The boundaries came later when the colonialists came in and partitioned Africa. But primarily there wasn't such a thing like a boundary to demarcate that this is the Tsonga land, this is a Kalanga land, or this is a Sutu land. It was just a land where they belonged, where they shared their common ancestry. Some of them were living according to their clans, some according to their, like common language. If they shared common language, common culture, common traditions, and anything, norms and values which were similar.
Historically, the Hlengwe society was eventually divided into 3 sections which composed of the ruling class of the Chauke clan, with Nzilo or fire as their totem, and Humba Snail, who were Tsonga speaking. This clan is still in leadership today. Traditionally, the chiefs known as Tihosi and their councils play an important role in society today. They have the final authority and still form an important part of government in all Tsonga groups.
Kama siku yokutenga timhaka abandla ra ka Hosi Gezani hi langutela ku masabuku a tindhawu teto xikan'we na van'wani va tsakelaka ku ta engisa mahungu va va chucheka ku va fika kona. Hi ku ya hi miriho hi xitalo hi langutisa ku ku na miriho hi ku hambanahambana hi ku ya hi milandzu leyi nga to ivangiwile hi vanhu.
Today in Zimbabwe, the government recognizes Shangani as one of the 16 official languages. In primary and secondary schools and tertiary institutions like Great Zimbabwe University, XiTsonga is being studied. The government of Zimbabwe is, however, encouraged to continue supporting documentation and research efforts to promote cultural diversity and heritage. We sat down with Dr. Biggie Samanda, the Director of Arts and Culture in the Ministry of Sport, Recreation, Arts and Culture, to appreciate the role and the work of the government in bringing together all these diverse ethnic groups in the country.
What Marshall said was, if the nation has got to grow, the tribe has got to die. That's when you're talking of nation. But then it's also important to be alive to the fact that a nation is made by several ethnicities. We take cognizance of the fact that when we are celebrating cultures, we've got to bring everyone on board. Like what the president says when he's speaking of, in his philosophy of leaving no place and no one behind. So it's the same thrust that we have as a ministry when we are doing what we call National Culture Month celebrations.
It is important to note that there are interactions among the Tsonga people in these 4 nations, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Mozambique, and Eswatini, through cultural festivals, symposiums, and research work. Documentation of culture through digital means is also encouraged.
Vamhani va hina va kota ku bandza timongo, va kota ku lungisa mafurha hi timongo, kambe swilo sweswo hi ta vona ku loko ku to hi lava vakokwani va hina na vamhani va hina swi ta nyamalala. Se ku hi kota ku tlakuseta ririmi ra hina, hi fana hi endla swilo swa ku hi kota ku yisa evuhaxi bya hina emoyeni leyi va ngo i digitalization ku endla ku swilo swa hina swi nga nyamalali.
When the Gaza Empire collapsed in 1895 following the defeat of Shangani by the Portuguese, the Tsonga people, including those of the Hlengwe clan, migrated to the north, settling in the present-day Zimbabwe, South Africa, Mozambique, and Eswatini.
The Tsonga are part of the larger Bantu family, which falls under the Niger-Congo language family, meaning that they originated from the Congo region or from the Great Lakes region. Now, which means they spread across countries coming to the south. That's why we ended up having the southern Bantu and we've got the southeastern Bantu, central Bantu. So the Tsonga are a part of those who belong to the southeastern Bantu, who were traveling to the places like the coastal areas, like what we call now Mozambique today, and others were found in what we call Zimbabwe today, and others proceeded until they reached to the place where we call South Africa today and Eswatini. But there was no boundary to demarcate what we call a country. It wasn't a country such, but it was just a vast land where they were operating in. So where they existed, and maybe even coexisted with other ethnic groups.
The Gaza Kingdom comprised parts of what is now southeastern Zimbabwe, as well as extending from the Sabi River down to the southern part of Mozambique. The Tsonga Vanhlengwe people in present-day Zimbabwe were a riverine people mainly found along Mutirikwi, Runte, Save, Mwenezi, Bezi, Mokwasini, and Chiredzi rivers. Generally, the rise of the Gaza Kingdom was based primarily on military conquests, particularly of the Hlengwe and Dao peoples who were absorbed into the Nkuni Gaza Kingdom.
But the fact now is that as Tsonga-speaking people or XiTsonga-speaking people, we are now found in 4 countries, if you want to say that, which is South Africa, Swaziland, Mozambique, and Zimbabwe. Mozambique has got a higher population of Tsonga-speaking people, although they call themselves Machangana. And then in South Africa, they call themselves Tsonga. In Zimbabwe, we call ourselves Shangans. But we know that the higher population of those people are Hlengwe people. So the history on its own is just has got different interpretations depending on what do you want to achieve by that kind of history.
Having worldwide traveled, I envy the Shangani culture. I equate Shangani culture to probably the Swahili culture, which is heavily spoken in East Africa. It is the culture, when it comes to the Zimbabwean context, the undiluted culture. The culture that is handed from generation to generation.
Chiredzi is a district in the southeastern Lowveld of Zimbabwe, which is home to the Gonarejo National Park. And the sugar estates of Hippo Valley and Triangle. Thank you for watching the Exploration of Shangani Culture, a documentary series proudly brought to you by the Lowveld Media Trust in partnership with Culture Fund of Zimbabwe, with support from the European Union Delegation to Zimbabwe.